Hey everyone, Krozjin here, and welcome back to City Skylines. Today I want to talk about roads. Our city's starting to have a little bit of a traffic issue in some areas, so I'm going to want to start upgrading my roads to something a bit better and really starting to manage my traffic. But before that, I really want to make a video explaining how roads work and the different types there are. So let's start with the basic. We have the two-lane roads in both one direction and two-way. So the basic two-way is very simple. Two lanes, two directions. Very simple. Now, the cool thing about two-lane roads is they don't produce traffic lights. So as you see, as I'm making intersections, they're not producing any traffic lights. It doesn't matter if the road is going in, out. I guess it's a two-way, it's always going in and out. So no traffic lights means traffic doesn't stop, which is fantastic. It is a great way to build your city blocks where there's a lot of traffic. No stopping traffic means more flowing. Nothing backs up. I love the two-lane roads. Now we also have the two-lane one-way road, which is pretty much the same thing as that. These also do not make traffic lights, because it's also a two-lane, and you get the bonus of it being a one-way road, which means you can have two lanes going in one direction, enabling a better flow of traffic. Personally, if I could make an entire city out of one-way roads versus two-way, I would. But I'm just not very good at that, and I'm sure I'd mess it up dramatically. It's a me thing. But if you can do an entire city through just one-way roads, I'd say go for it. And then we have the different upgrade options for the two-lane and the two-way and the one-way. So you have the road with grass and the road with trees. Now you can upgrade by clicking this button, upgrade tool, and we select what we want to upgrade, and we can go ahead and upgrade it. Now, I usually skip the road with grass. That's just me. I figure if I'm gonna upgrade my roads, I might as well then actually just upgrade to the full. One thing to note though, you cannot upgrade a one-way to a two-lane, or a two-lane to a one-way. But you can go ahead and downgrade these at any time as well. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, I upgraded all these roads, I'm now paying too much money. What do? There's a solution, just go ahead and downgrade them back to the way they were. The added bonus also about upgrading to any road with trees is it reduces noise pollution, which is pretty nice, because noise pollution actually makes it so citizens get a little bit more sick and they're less happy, which can impact the expansion of your city. But that's pretty much the basic with the two-lane roads. No traffic lights. I love them. Then we go into the four-lane roads. Now this is only a two-way option. There's no four-lane road that is one way. So here it is. Two-lane going in one direction, two-lane going another. Go ahead and upgrade some of these, just to show you what they look like. Trees. Now these, on the other hand, do make intersections. Do make traffic lights. Look at that. Right away, traffic lights. Now, this can work. I personally haven't had much luck with these. At least the two-way option. The two-lane in both direction option. I'd rather than have two-lane going in, two-lane going out, and then another row going across. Something like that. Than this. I feel like this manages traffic much better than this. Just because this has traffic lights, but this does not. Maybe you have a better option for this, but I haven't had much luck. Also, I believe, yeah, if I pull a one-way out of it, it does not make a traffic light. I believe one-way in should. Yeah. So, pretty much one way out of this four-way road, four-lane road will not make traffic lights, but going in, it will. Okay, so moving on to the 6-lane. Let's go over here. So again, we have the two-way and the one-way options. The two-way is pretty nice. It's 3 in one direction, 3 in the other. Again, you run into the issue that you always get traffic lights. But this has a few nice ways of managing this. So you can have just not have many intersections going in between. Use this as a main road. And what you can do, for example, is, let's say, go 2-lane, out this way, forward, and left. And now, if you look carefully, you have a dedicated lane going right, dedicated lane going forward, dedicated lane going left, which is a great way to quickly use all the lanes of the road and to guide traffic very easily. And then from here, of course, you can do split it however you want. These are now lightless roads, but there are lights going to be at this intersection. So something to keep note. And then we have the 6-lane one-way. Now, unlike its predecessor of the one-way 2-lane road, this one doesn't have traffic lights going out, but it does have traffic lights going in. Because of the sheer amount of lanes going into it, it needs traffic lights. Going out, it makes sense that it doesn't. But one thing to note, though, if you have another 6-lane one-way going out of a 6-lane one-way, it's not going to use all the lanes. So here, only the left 3 are actually being used. That means when they move in, half of this isn't used, and you lose in efficiency. Of course, cars can then split up depending on how you have the continuation of this, but they might not. So it's something to consider. The best way to do continue this, I found, is to use one-way 2-lane roads, which goes ahead and does the same kind of trick as the 2-lane for the 2-way, but now you have 2 left, 2 straight, 2 right. So it becomes pretty nice. Now if I delete this and place a 2-way here, then you have the problem that one lane isn't actually being used for anything. The reason is, this is a 2-lane road going right, so you have 2 lanes here, 2 lanes forward, so 2 are going there, but this is only 1 lane. So there is actually 1 lane that's missing. So it can't just say, well, you two merge together as a U-turn. That won't work. You can, of course, if you want to do it a 2-way there, you could go with the with this option, and then you do have your 2 lanes turning left. But when you do that, you go ahead and create the traffic lights. This way, there are no traffic lights. So it's something to take into consideration. Cool. Now, you also have the option to make little gravel roads. Personally, they're pretty much just shitty variations of roads. If you want to make something look cool and fancy, they're the slowest road. I say use them purely for aesthetics. Maybe you have one kind of back alley type thing where you keep your garbage, and maybe you want it on a dirt road. I don't know. That's up to you. I personally, I don't think I'll ever use them. I don't see a reason to. Now let me actually go out into the world view and buy some of these, just to expand our working area. And then zoom back in. So now let's continue with highways. Highways don't have a snapping grid option. So you see I'm in a straight road. Normally if I draw a road, you see it kind of snaps. Like especially now, like you see it snaps right there. But when you do highways, you don't really have that guide. And also, highways can't go straight 90 degrees, which makes sense. They're going at high speeds. You shouldn't be able to make a sharp 90-degree turn on a highway. But the one nice thing about highways is no matter what road you have going into it, they will not produce traffic lights. So there you go. These are all 6-lane roads, two-way, but there's no traffic lights at all. There's these things basically saying here's an exit, there's an exit, but no traffic lights. Unlike we saw over here, that if you have that kind of thing going, you will have traffic lights no matter what. So that's a great way to avoid cars stopping. The one downside you can see here is you don't have a place to put your buildings. Highways basically are purely for the transportation of vehicles. They're not made for vehicles to stop, as you can imagine. Having a car go 60 miles per hour and then stop in the middle of a highway to turn into a house is kind of ridiculous. But you also have the highway sound barrier option. This just reduces the sound that highways emit. And these emit a lot of sound, so you really want to make sure that you have these upgraded when you have them next to commercial or any kind of population that complains about noise. They're not going to be happy with them. Now, moving on, we have intersections. So intersections are pre-made versions of roads based on the ones you already have. So you can actually make these yourself. They just come pre-made to help you out. So to start with, we have the first option, which is a which is a roundabout using two-way 6-lane roads. Now, if you note here, there's no traffic lights. The reason is they use the same trick I did here. It's basically a highway in a one-way, because you can't have two-way highways here, going around in a circle, and lanes going in and lanes coming out. It's very efficient because you use 3 lanes to go in and 2 lanes to come out. But all lanes, in theory, should be used. But in practice, they are not. Personally, I found this setup to be not very good, at least for this intersection. The reason being is, imagine you're coming down here. If you want to get out here, you're going to be in the right lane. If you want to come out at the next stop, you might go in the middle lane and then come out. You're probably almost never going to use the left lane. And that's what happens. Very few cars actually use that middle ring. Most use either right or middle. And the center ring circle is just not used. So I personally don't like this intersection because of it. Also, you can't build anything on the inside. Like, I can't zone anything in the middle. I mean, of course, you don't really want to, because you don't want people, again, stopping on a roundabout. But it's so big that you kind of want to place things there and you can't. I don't know, that's my personal thing. Moving on to the next one, we have the smaller version of this. Now this one also doesn't have traffic lights because it is made of purely 2-lane roads. 2 ways on here and 1 way here. And this doesn't have the problem this one does, which is the very center lane not being used. Every single lane is used here usually, at least a little bit more effectively I found. Sometimes you still have more traffic, not sometimes, you usually have more traffic on the outer ring because that's where you make your turn. The middle ring, the center ring, is usually just for straight, so cars use it far less. But again, if you're going to go with the roundabout, I think it's purely a visual thing. Honestly, just the regular intersection, I think works just fine. This, because cars don't stop the way it's designed, I think it's just as efficient as this, but this doesn't take up nearly as much space. So that's just something to consider. You might want to try out both versions, see which one you like, but I think this just regular plus sign will be better than the roundabout. Or at least not worse enough to compensate for the issues. Because you can't actually build any kind of buildings here. Because you don't want cars stopping in this lane. That's going to cause traffic. And especially in a roundabout. So this part is pretty much pretend like it's not zoned. You can make a park here maybe, if it fits. But I don't know. Personally, I like the fact that this doesn't stop traffic either, and it's much nicer to work with. Moving on, we have this, which is basically a highway intersection. Now let's just put it somewhere down. Let's put it right there. So this basically works with, you have two highways, one going one direction, going another. Same thing with this. And you have a way for everyone to get everywhere. So if you're going down the highway here, you can turn right, you go straight. But if you want to go left, you have to go straight and then turn around and go left this way. But you can go in every single direction. But there is a problem with this setup. And that is it uses off-ramps. If I go onto highways, you see these highway ramps. They're slightly slower, and they're one lane only. Now, the issue with this is when you have a lot of cars going in, you don't want anything slowing down, and you want to make sure there's more lanes available. Because what happens here is everyone who wants to get off here will get in the rightmost lane. So that's issue number one. You don't want all of the cars in one lane. And then, once they merge back in, they will all try to merge with, basically with 3 lanes. Depending on how you have things set up, they might go all the way across, they might go in the rightmost lane. It's not very good. Now, I'm going to demolish this really quickly just to show you. You can upgrade these to highways, and this works much better. Because now you have 2 lanes going in. And of course, all 3 are turning in this case. I found this setup, just keeping it pure highway, works far, far better. The issue is you can't actually do it with this setup. The roads are too compact. See, I can't upgrade all of these, they're too close. So what I will end up doing is making my own preset, and we'll be doing that in just a moment. I'll have to set up a nice 4-way and a 3-way highway junction. The game does have its own 3-way intersection though. You can find it here. Also, one cool thing I forgot to mention is if you hold right mouse button, you can free rotate your intersections any way you want, or pretty much anything that can be rotated. If you just hold right mouse button, you can do it. You can also click. Right mouse button click. Does it in, I think, 45-degree angles? Not too sure. Anyway, so let's just put that down there. The reason you can't place in some areas, by the way, so like here, it won't work, is because the slope is too steep, and the way it was designed originally just doesn't work with it. It would need it's a custom one for that spot. So presets help, but they don't always work. So here we have like a similar issue as we do with this one. Now here we have a way to go right, a way to go left, but if you look carefully, one lane's just not being used. It's, I think, a very inefficient design. Because basically, you have your entire highway going into 2 lanes, and then splitting off into 1 lane. So anyone that wants to go right has to be in this 1 lane. And this causes a lot of traffic. So I am not a fan of this design at all. Now, you can upgrade all of these to, I believe, the full-sized highways, and it does help. Oh no, that's right. You can't do it down here. So you are constrained still in size. So like it's compact, it's nice, but there is a limit to amount of cars that can go across this setup and this setup before it causes traffic. So it is very important to consider. And that's pretty much the roads. Mostly, I like using the 2-lane ones, and I might throw in some 6-lane here and there, I think. But probably I'll mostly be using 2-lane roads and highways. Now, some setups that I found really nice to do, actually, is something I'll be setting up in a moment, which is to use different elevations. Because if I have a road going, I can actually raise an elevation and basically have like the bridge, sort of like we saw here. And by having my highways going in one direction and then going the other direction, but being elevated, if I do this. Once you get a high enough height, by the way, you do get an awesome bridge, which is pretty cool. You can make your actual roads go along the bottom, and it all works out really nicely, like that. So that's why I like actually making my highways raised and having my regular roads on the bottom. But we of course didn't do that in our starting city because money constraints at the beginning. So that is roads in a nutshell. Right now, let's go to the asset editor, and I will show you guys how to use that and make some cool intersections that we're going to use in our city. Actually, guys, this episode has gone kind of long, so I'm going to have to call it here for now. We'll come back in a separate episode and do the actual intersections and check out the asset editor properly. Because if I was to do it now, I'd only have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do it, and I think it deserves its own full video. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed a look at our roads. It's don't use these. At least, I mean, you can use them, just change them once your city starts to grow in the hundreds of thousands, because these will cause traffic for you. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a good one.